fear me more and more. I am a victim of my own success. Conquest. I don't even get a real name. Not a single person in the entire universe would care. Take it to your grave.
In the entire history of Overwatch, or just even games like this in general, there's never been another character that's hit the same way for me as DPS Doomfist has. He's a character that has unique rollouts that you fly over rooftops for, and whether you think that's cheesy or not is entirely up to you. But even then, he has combos that no other character has, and just an interesting and completely unique playstyle that I've never seen before or after. While Doomfist wasn't the first character I ever fell in love with, that can go to a certain other character that I may talk about some other day. Doomfist was a character that instantly I've always been kind of enamored with. I couldn't play him on console because that's a toughie, and I think most people on console who played DPS Doomfist could say that it's fucking hard, but playing him on PC when I got my laptop about 5 years ago almost was different. It hit in a way that I've never had another character hit, and it just hit me like cocaine in the 80s. Now, before I talk any more about DPS Doomfist, I know some poor individual who really didn't get to experience it the same way I did is going to say that Venture is pretty close. Venture is not as close as you think. Venture has a lot more poking in their playstyle and just doesn't have the same combo gameplay. They are their own unique experience, as they should be. I don't think a character like that should be relegated to Doomfist, but worse. I do understand where that sentiment comes from, because my first thought with Venture was, wow, this character feels like a discount Doomfist I got at Walmart because it was cheaper and easier to get, rather than the Doomfist experience I was looking for in Tank Doom. Back to the original topic though, DPS Doom would fly in and out of your team with whatever cycle he has. Sometimes he'd punch, uppercut out, and slam back to his team, or whatever off angle he came from, or he would come from some sort of high ground with a slam into uppercut, and then punch back to his team, or whatever off angle he came from if, you know, he can't get chased. Obviously, those aren't the only ways to play DPS Doom. The gameplay in the background should serve as some sort of example of how you engage, but it's kind of the basics, and that's kind of what Tank Doom does get right. There isn't really any combo gameplay anymore, though. It's just the in-and-out sort of gameplay, which I think it's kind of hard to get combos working on a tank, but Junker Queen and Roadhog have similar things going, but more on Junker Queen's side than Roadhog, since Roadhog just instantly fucking kills you. In my personal opinion, the biggest thing holding Tank Doom back from feeling more like Doomfist is the fact that Blizzard's so set on his hero fantasy being all about his big Rocket Punch ability. Rocket Punch by itself on Tank Doom isn't exactly powerful, which is fine. I mean, he's a tank, it doesn't exactly need to one-shot. Instead of one-shotting, Doomfist can build an empowered punch by blocking enough damage using his power block. It's changed a couple of times how much damage that is, and so I'm just not going to give a fucking specific number. There's a wiki for a reason. Now this is the part where my voice starts to get a little bit fucking louder, because the problem isn't necessarily that Doomfist has a block ability to keep himself alive, or that his in-and-out gameplay is slightly different. The problem mostly comes from the fact that he entirely feels like he's balanced around his empowered punch. Oh, punch is really strong right now? God forbid we nerf that, we're going to nerf slam. They don't leave room for a three-dimensional character. They balance him like a one-dimensional character. I had a similar issue with DPS Doom, but at least the three-dimensional character was still intact. You could still engage with slam and uppercut. You could still play for a punch if you had to. There was a three-dimensional character there, even if people hated him. What the fuck is going on here? Why is he being balanced like a one-dimensional character? Why has he always been treated since Overwatch 2 as this one-dimensional character? It feels like whoever was in charge of hero design beforehand had a completely different vision, and then whoever got in charge now has a new vision on Doomfist. And it feels like how the character was designed and the new vision just don't line up when you try to balance them the way they are. I'm not saying he needs to have more power in slam and more power in a shotgun and making power punch useless. I'm saying, like, it just doesn't feel like Doomfist. Like, it's hard to explain, but I'm not the only Doomfist player with this issue. They do this to a lot of characters too. They just kind of slap some buffs and nerfs and rearrange power in ways that might make people more satisfied, but that's not how you make certain characters work. Doomfist was never really designed to be one-dimensional punch man. That's not interesting for anyone, and in fact it actually makes him more annoying for the enemy team. He's arguably more annoying than he was in Overwatch 1. It really depends on your opinion, but I don't think punching 5 into a wall with a broken ability is fun for anyone, because now the Doomfist player is forced to farm for it because there's no other way to play him, and the enemy team is just horrified because the second they get hit with, like, maybe 2 people against a wall or 3, they lose that fight almost. It's insane. The ultimate thing that makes Tank Doom not feel like Doomfist is the fact that he just doesn't have anything three-dimensional about him. He's fun because his movement is fantastic. Sure, he has some of the most fluid movement I've seen in a character in a long time. Like, Hazard's a little clunky here and there, but Doomfist has fantastic movement. But he doesn't play three-dimensionally. He's very just, I gotta build punch, I gotta build punch, I gotta build punch. You wanna climb in your ranked games? Build punch. Go watch Get Quaked On and see what happens when he doesn't build punch. He does fucking nothing. The biggest thing that really made me realize this is that when I went to go play, like, DPS Doom in both, like, the Moth meta and Goats, both times I feel like there's lots of things I can still do. It's not like I missed my one ability and I'm useless. No, I missed my one ability and now I have a different way to engage. I fucked up punch. Okay, I can either go back to my team or just continue with slam and uppercut. It's not the end of the fucking world. It's not like I'm playing Roadhog and I missed a hook and all of a sudden 9/11 is happening 15 times in my house because I missed that one hook and that's all the character's good for. Point is that Doom feels like he's super lopsided as a tank, where on DPS he feels generally well-rounded, and those well-rounded but clunky edges were satisfying. You kind of take away a lot of satisfaction from the character, though, if I'm kind of forced to play around Empowered Punch a lot, let alone just punch in general as it's your best space-making tool. It's hard for Doomfist to do anything else, and it doesn't help that he's missing combos. But, you know, mobility is the biggest reason people like the character. And I still like him because, yes, he's very mobile, but when you balance him almost entirely around Empowered Punch and nerf other things to make room for how much power it has, it just starts to feel bad. Like it's not the same character you fell in love with. I guess, at the end of the day, I kind of just miss making those really powerful plays that made you feel like Doomfist. Not just a charged up punch, but a slam into an uppercut that just sent someone up to the fucking moon, and going back to your team, prepping for another play, waiting for them to go in, just so you can come up from behind and scare the shit out of all of them. Just shit like that, setting up for plays. I miss doing that. But it doesn't matter what I think. I know this won't go anywhere.